Hi, Dwiji. How are you doing?
I'm good, Manas. Good to talk to you again.
Good to see you. And Dwiji, you studied in US, uh,
Yes, Minnesota. Yes.
Minnesota. What was your area of study?
So I studied mechanical engineering, but as is my norm, I don't just stick to my curriculum. I was doing a lot more than just mechanical engineering when I was there.
So
Yeah.
how come you are not minting money in United States and you are sitting here in
Yeah. So when I went to
work?
the US, I went with the objective of doing a PhD in my specific research subject, and I wanted to come back and work on research.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's not like there weren't any opportunities to make money, but then that was not my driving motivation.
Okay.
I wanted to come back because I wanted to work in some research institutions here and also do some grounded work. I mean, not just work that would make money for companies, but rather make some difference on the ground. So at that point in time, I was looking at energy and energy efficiency and energy conversions
Mm-hmm.
and solid waste management and stuff like that.
What
So
what did
by
you
that
find
time,
did you find a formal organization to your liking?
pardon, come again?
Did you find any formal education, formal institution
Yeah.
to your liking to where you
Well,
could?
see, the thing is that institutions have their own mandates and individuals have their own mandates. And if the individual's mandates are not met in an institution, I would not say that the institution is at fault. It's just
Mm-hmm.
that it's not the right fit.
It's
So
a
I
fit.
never fit into any institution in that sense.
Ha, ha,
So that's
ha.
why I was saying that I never stuck to my curriculum. I think ever since my 10th grade. So even after my 10th and when I was doing my 11th and 12th, I would be out doing other things that interested me. That's because institutions were had their limitations, and luckily I had a family background and a friend circle, which or I grew a friend circle, and in which I could pursue my interests. So yeah,
So what drew you to the farming related space? If you
ah,
could just say.
that's a very interesting answer to that. So I started my work in the alternate space, like I mentioned, in energy, and then from energy I went to buildings. So that was I worked on bamboo for a short while, and then after bamboo, I was working with a collective in Hyderabad on cotton. So
Mm-hmm.
मैंने सोचा भाई कपड़ा हो गया मकान हो गया अभी रोटी पे काम करते हैं. So that's when I started working on agriculture seriously. Even though food and farming has always been on my interest, I started working on agriculture in I would say 2011, 12. Yeah.
Wow, that was around the time, a few years before we met for the first time.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah,
I think we met in 2015, if I remember right.
2015 we met at Sitapur itself. Yes.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
And
Yeah.
let me take you to Sitapur. What is
Yeah.
happening at Sitapur? A brief
So
and what is it?
Sitapur is a place where there is a farmer labor collective called Sangatin Kisan Mazdoor Sangathan. So they work on various issues of farmers and laborers, small farmers, marginal farmers. And this collective has been very central to my own political education.
Mhm.
And right now I'm sitting in Sitapur actually, even though I'm based out of Bangalore. Nowadays, I have to say I'm Sitapur slash Bangalore based because I spend most of my time in Sitapur. Over the last year, I've
Mhm.
spent most of my time in Sitapur. So, Sitapur is a place where the collective has been looking at how we can bring about both the Rachanatmak and the Sangatnatmak Kam.
Mhm.
So, both the Nirman and the Sangharsh together. So the idea of our work here, the core idea of our work here, has been that as small farmers and laborers fight for their rights, we often say लंबी लड़ाई है,
Mhm.
लंबी लड़ाई है भैया ये तो लंबी लड़ाई है, लंबी लड़ाई है बहना ये तो लंबी लड़ाई है. तो ये लंबी लड़ाई लड़ने के लिए to fight these long battles, we need to sustain ourselves, and
Mhm.
that's only possible through our lands. And what we also recognize that farming is a very critical aspect in their livelihoods. Even though it's not their central one, it is a critical one because it
Mhm.
fills their nutritional requirements. So, and there was a clear decline in nutritional requirements over the past decade, more than like 2 decades. And we also identified that the kharif crop was the one that they were having a tough time with.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, a mixture of all this over the next, over about 2 years of, sustained involvement, we decided to start working on millets in this area, which was also the topic that I was working on in South India.
Mhm.
So since 2014, we started working on cultivating millets and bringing millets back into the people's diets. And so that's what has been keeping me in Sitapur, and that's what has been happening in Sitapur. In 2022, we started Sehat Ka Bardana,
Mhm.
which literally translates to the platter of health. So, platter as in not dinner platter, but more like the platter on which you bring in all the ingredients to make your dinner.
Mhm.
So it could be dinner, it could be mason working, any person, any person working with their hands when they bring their tools and their essential components or material,
Mhm.
that stuff they bring it in is called bardana. So we started Sehat Ka Bardana in a village near Sitapur city, and that is now 2 years old, and that's what has been, keeping me busy in Sitapur.
Fantastic. So I have a question like about Farmversity. I
Yeah.
understand that you have a thriving learning space. How a
Yeah.
Farmversity is rising in Sitapur? How do you
Yeah.
see that?
So one of the things that we strongly believe in is that over not just years but over centuries, we have we as a society have systematically de-skilled the farming sector,
Mhm.
because anybody who did well, who was smart, who did well in school or in studies, or even was street smart, let's say, would be sent off to the city to earn a better living,
Mhm.
or they would be sent off to some other profession, say a doctor or a lawyer or or even a clerk for that matter, right? They would go take a job in an office, and farming would be left to the person who couldn't succeed anywhere, be it a male or a female, typically men. And they were the ones who have, over the centuries, we have systematically de-skilled our farming sector.
Mhm.
So
True.
what we have been focusing on is, while we build Sehat Ka Bardana as a resource center for health, we've also been reskilling the community. So whether it is in cultivation practices, whether it is in terms of processing, or even for that matter in terms of cooking and nutrition awareness. So there are a lot of practices that are just carried on because it's a ritual, and we are trying to identify, okay, what's the background of these practices,
Mhm.
whether it is agricultural, whether it is food related, whether it is agronomy related, and trying to, um, through conversations, through um, conscious engagement,
Mhm.
bring back that idea that, look, we have the skills and knowledge, we've just lost touch with them. How do we reconnect with that?
Can you highlight one specific example how this expansion of skill set or
Yeah.
knowledge happens? Yeah.
Yeah, so let's just take a very practical one when it comes to millets. Now, millets, the one millet that's very prevalent here in certain villages around here is kodo millet.
Mhm.
And kodo millet, as some of you might know, Manas, you know quite well, I'm sure. Uh, Kodo millet has some very unique characteristics. And typically, it's a 4 to 5 month crop. It's a long
Mhm.
duration crop in
Long
most
duration of
places.
time. Mhm.
But what we found out is that in Sitapur, there's actually a 3 month version,
That's pretty
and
short. Huh? Yeah.
that is very beneficial in the Sitapur context, because if it goes into a fourth month or a fifth month,
Mhm.
the dew is so intense here, or we get good amount of dew in these parts,
Mm-hmm.
that we would have what is called as the kodo poisoning, right? Which is
Mm-hmm.
because of a fungal infestation that comes about during harvest season.
Mm-hmm.
And that happens because of high humidity
Mm-hmm.
and overcast skies. So if you don't have a clear sky and high humidity, and especially if it's warm, which is what it is during Deepavali time,
Mm-hmm.
uh, it becomes quite a recipe for a fungal infestation, which causes upset stomach and reduces the acceptability of kodo
Mm-hmm.
significantly. Like even the fear of this infestation
Mm-hmm.
leads to a drop in kodo consumption. So what we saw is that in the local space, kodo is typically grown in high drainage soils,
Mm-hmm.
soils where the water doesn't stay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's grown as a short duration crop. The variety that has been working in the local space, the local land race, is a 3-month variety,
Okay.
which
Mm-hmm.
negates this possibility of fungal
So
infestation.
before the dew starts setting in, the crop is ready
It
basically.
starts setting in post Deepavali.
Post the so pre-Deepavali with the harvesting and all
Yeah,
can
the
done.
harvest is done.
Mm.
And it also works well because they want to sow their rabi crop, which is typically wheat or mustard or one of those crops, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they even grow masood. So what I'm trying to convey here is that there was this skill set earlier,
Mm-hmm.
traditional knowledge, but over time it has been lost. And yeah, so just as an example there, but like this, there are many such examples where local knowledge, local skills, local preferences have been compromised because of development, right?
So how's this rediscovery or research on to the lost knowledge or wisdom is happening? One second is how do you think this in knowledge which you are collecting can actually be made accessible in what way so that
Yeah.
other
So
people or other communities can also benefit
correct,
it?
correct. So couple of things. One thing that we are doing is not just bringing in local knowledge, but we are bringing in knowledge from outside also,
Mm-hmm.
like familiarity with machines, trying to get them to operate machines and use them
Mm-hmm.
in uh, trying to mechanize with a conscious thought of are the machines serving the people or are the people serving the machine, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So making very deliberate and I would even say slow decisions
Mm-hmm.
on technology rather than just embracing technology right away, right? So there are a lot of things that we are bringing in from outside as well. So it's not just about local
Mm-hmm.
knowledge systems, but also about going beyond local knowledge systems and looking at how we can mesh in local knowledge systems and outside or remote knowledge systems as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now how are we reaching it to the people? Now the first and foremost thing that we see is the need for knowledge, for language, right?
Mm-hmm.
So being able to speak the language is the biggest hurdle,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a hurdle that I'm even now encountering regularly because Hindi is not my mother tongue, and the local dialect that is spoken here is Avdi, not even Hindi.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I can barely understand Avdi, but I can get the sense of what they're talking so that I can ask questions and have a conversation with them, even though
Mm-hmm.
I'm speaking in Hindi and they are talking in Avdi. And they are also able to communicate a lot better in Hindi nowadays. But
So what that one thing which I also figured in my understanding is that the vernacular or the local
yeah,
language has to be honored. It has to be it has to play a bigger role rather than
yeah,
subduing it. The knowledge has to go in the local vernacular because there is so much
yes,
wisdom which
yeah,
is
very true,
inherent.
very true. And there is also a lot of words in local languages which convey a lot more than just just the description, right? So for example, proso millet here is called Jethi Sawa.
Mm-hmm.
So Sawa is barnyard millet.
And Jeth, the
Jet
weather,
ka mahina.
Jeth ka mahina, which is the summer.
Yeah. Now
Yeah.
it's called Jethi Sawa, right? Now immediately it conveys that, oh, it's something that is sown in Jet ka mahina,
So
right?
there is
After the
knowledge
wheat is
transfer.
harvested,
Yeah. Yeah.
they will sow the. They used to sow proso millet,
It's
right?
proso. And it's whereas Sawa is barnyard.
Sawa is barnyard.
JT Sawa means. So this is fantastic piece of
Yeah.
information.
So they don't have a separate word for proso millet. It's called Jethi Sawa.
Ah,
Even though if you look at the plant, it doesn't look anything like barnyard millet. Proso millet
so
does not look anything like barnyard millet.
do you think this should be this should be recorded and kind of put into a journal like these terms and
It's there. I mean, it's there in literature. It's not that it's not registered in literature. In literature, it is called. I mean, I could find references to J.T. Sawa,
no,
right?
I'm talking about a whole lot of things actually, like
Yeah,
what
yeah,
a
yeah.
particular
So,
any
I mean,
work being done on the language side. Uh,
yeah. So my own work is not related to the language per se, right? So we use all these tools to make connections, right?
mhm.
Make discoveries, realize the local knowledge and the the depth of the information that's already there, right?
I'm
And
curious to know.
uh,
Sorry, please continue. Sorry,
no, no,
cut
I
you.
was just saying that and challenge the conventional narrative that the rural space needs to be reskilled because everything is gone and only dumb people live here. I'm saying no. I mean, even those who are here are reasonably smart. It's just that we have been, carving out or what do you say, smuggling out all the good ones, and therefore, in spite of all that, there is so much knowledge here.
Maybe it's something क्या कहते हैं that it's a blessing in disguise. The people left behind are still enjoying the freedom of
Well, जो कुछ होता है अच्छा ही होता है. Let's
अच्छा,
move on from here. I mean, there's no
yeah.
point in. I feel that there is a point in reviewing history, but we should not get bogged down in history and go from here because history gives us the context, and
I
it's
hmm,
important to move forward.
yeah, yeah. My question is specific here.
Yeah,
Uh, your work or in general the work being done at Sitapur,
yeah,
what would you call as a specific, more focused learning activity happening, like where people
yeah.
teach
So
one
the
another?
predominant learning activity that we are engaged in is how do we balance how do we balance the movement or the claim for rights
Mm-hmm,
and the pursuit of health and nutrition,
mm-hmm,
which is fairly self-centered,
mm-hmm,
whereas a fight for the rights is a much more community-centered activity.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So um, our focus has been to work with our sangathan ke
mm-hmm,
sathis in a way where we are able to bring in not just a consciousness of the self and a pursuit of self,
mm-hmm,
but also sustain this focus on the communal, on the community.
mm-hmm,
And how do we sustain a rights based movement in a in parallel with this initiative for health, which is also fairly community centered, but then
absolutely.
we are appealing to individuals to improve their skills, to improve their food, to improve these things which are fairly personal, right?
How many members are there? I'm curious now in the
Yeah.
Sangathan.
So the Sangathan itself has about 11,000 members now, spread
11,000.
over
Okay.
about 100 kilometers square area.
Mm-hmm.
150 square kilometers. Um, and we have grown to 11,000 in the last 2 years from
Mm-hmm.
about 6,000. So
Mm-hmm.
we have doubled, almost doubled in the last 2 years in terms of members. In the agriculture initiative itself, we have about 500 farmers participating,
Okay. Okay.
both men
Uh,
and women.
Men and women. They are specifically in the farming specific trade.
हाँ,
Uh,
हम जो बोलते हैं खेती खाना पोषण टीम,
हम्म। अच्छा, खेती खाना
जो खेती
पोषण
खाना
टीम।
पोषण के बारे में जो काम कर रहे हैं, that's about 500 people, 500 families.
500 families. So the numbers will be uh,
Yeah,
3, 4
multiplied
times.
by 4 to 5 easily.
Right, right, right.
Yeah,
So what is it like when we're talking about the Farmversity is rising? There's a movement which we are
correct.
giving shape to. Like Farmversities
Yeah,
exist in every nook and
yeah,
corner of the world. Wherever I go, I see something or the other
yeah,
happening. The
true,
alliance is a collective of these projects. How,
correct.
what is it which you see can positively impact your project at Sitapur if this alliance, when you dip into
Yeah,
this alliance?
yeah. So, like I mentioned earlier, we have been able to do a lot of things because of linkages with different organizations and individuals, and whether it is for informing ourselves better on certain techniques or certain materials, or or even for that matter, learning from each other while we work together, right? So in that sense we feel, also because um, invariably learning is become a privileged activity, right?
Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
there are people who are struggling to survive, and there are people who have the luxury to be engaged in schooling and college and postgraduate education and all that. And
Hmm.
we feel that learning is a lifelong process,
It
and
is.
that
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not something that starts in at age 5 and ends at age 20,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? It's something that goes on, and
Mm-hmm.
each and every individual should have an opportunity to to learn new things, to do new things. And so while we engage in all these activities, this aspect of learning new things is central to our activities. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of things that we offer to an alliance. There's also a lot of things that we pull or draw from an alliance.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
Farmversity Alliance is another thing that we see in the same perspective, that we have the possibility to learn a lot of stuff, especially when it comes to farms and farming. And we have a lot of things to share in terms of people and movements and societies and initiatives which are more than just me and my farm and my family centered.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
if you're looking at anything beyond that, Sitapur and Setka Bardana is a beautiful place to engage with, and both share your own knowledge and ideas, and also draw a lot from our pool of skills as well.
Let me ask one. I want to understand at Sitapur, you said Sehat ka Bardana and
Yeah,
so what are the couple of or the key activities? Let's say
yeah,
the right based movement. Uh, uh, that's it has no, so the farming is just a part of it. So I one thing at
yeah,
Farmers Alliance is that we are not treating farming in a silo like one single
correct,
activity, and so it is all interconnected. So
correct.
what is that will you call the strength or the highlight of this Farmversity at Sitapur, which will be the key
Yeah.
activity?
So if we want to encapsulate the USP of our Sehat Ka Bardana, it would be that we are looking at nutrition and millets not just from a farming perspective, but rather from on farm production to post harvest processing to consumption
Okay.
as well. So the idea is to not just look at our initiative, as I was saying, it's Kheti Khana Poshan team
Mhm.
that we have. So we have all three aspects. There is Kheti, there is Khana, and there is Poshan. And therefore, millets is just one part of the various things that we want to get, you know,
Mhm.
bring in. And over time, we are hoping that we'll be able to start inculcating these various other things as well.
Mhm.
So the
Mhm.
idea being that how does a rights-based movement engage in sustainable food and farming initiatives
Mhm.
so that we can move towards not just a sustainable food system but also a just food system.
Just food system. Yeah. We need a just food system, and that's a great takeout for me. Yeah. A just food system. Thanks, Dwiji.
Thank
Uh,
you, Manas. That was good. And
love,
looking forward to your visit to Sitapur sometime in the near future.